All right, calling the Agriculture Advisory Board, February 11th meeting to order. First order of business is public comment, of which there is none. So we'll move on to election of officers. The way we can do this is that someone will get nominated, and then we can vote. However, if there's more than one nomination, then we'll just do it in the order that's nominated. So if somebody nominates person A and person B, we'll vote on person A. If that person gets the majority, then we'll just stop the voting there. Whoever becomes the chairperson, then they will carry on electing the vice chair and the secretary, which I don't know who that's going to be. So, do we have any nominations for chairperson for the Agriculture Advisory Board?
Mr. Land.
No, I nominate Mr. Rex Blanton to returning chair to continue his tenure for the Ag Advisory Board. Do we have a second?
I second.
We don't actually need a second on that.
All right.
And Ms. Vicki?
You got one? We'll
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna go for Debbie Sewell.
Okay. Max. Vicki. Debbie. Okay, so we'll go with Mr. Blanton first. All of those in favor of Mr. Blanton, please raise your hand. Mr. Blanton, did you want to vote?
You gonna vote?
Sure.
Can I vote?
Yes.
I can't vote.
You're a non-voting member.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
no,
what I thought.
Sorry.
But your sentiments appreciated. So that was hands up, please, again? There we go, okay. So that's 4 in favor. That would be the majority that we have here tonight. So, okay. Congratulations, Mr. Blanton. That's for you.
Thank you, sir.
Uh-huh.
There you go, Nancy.
Oh, my goodness. Nancy. All right, Sheila. All right, thank you all for your confidence. I'll try to do the best I can for everyone. And, at this time, we'll entertain nominations for vice president, or vice chair, I should say. Got me thinking nationally.
I'll nominate Ed.
Second.
Are there any other nominations?
Debbie Sewell.
Okay. That's you, yeah.
I don't hear a second, so,
Yeah, we don't need a second for it, it was just a nomination.
okay.
So at this point, since Mr. Hollifield nominated Mr. Land first, that would be the first vote you would take.
All right. All those in favor of Mr. Land as vice chair, please raise your hand.
3, okay. All right. And that didn't have a majority, so the next one will be for Ms. Sewell.
All right, all those in favor of Ms. Sewell, raise your hand.
All right, so that's fun. That's a great question, because now we have tie. So,
You wanna arm wrestle? That's better than we had to do in this other board that I was on. We flipped a coin.
that's probably fair as well. Cool. So how about this? How about we go on to, why don't we hold that, and I will send out a quick text message here. Why don't we go on to secretary? If you all don't mind, it's completely up to you all. But as far as, we'll just hold off on finalizing the vice chair vote until I get some confirmation on something. If you all want to vote, nominate and vote on secretary,
Do I hear a nomination for secretary recorder?
Adam.
Second, oh yeah.
any other one? Anybody else want to do it?
I hear no other nominations, or we take a vote on Mr. Chapman as
Yeah, let's vote for him.
secretary and recorder. All those in favor, raise your hand. Look like
Yeah, did I win?
2, 3,
Thanks.
4, I think.
On that one.
You won. Where's Sandra?
Hawaii.
Oh, my.
Oh my Lord.
So-
Grandbaby.
Well, that's not fair.
So that's gonna be a black mark against her, don't worry.
Helping
I'm
with
writing that one
grandbaby.
down.
I'm sorry.
Well, Mr.
Helping with grandbaby.
Oh.
Yeah. All right.
Okay, so the, legal advice is we do it over till we get a majority, so we're still at, going back to the vice chair position. We're still at it until a majority is reached.
Okay, did everybody vote on Adam? We got that squared away?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's done.
All right, so, all those in favor of Mr. Land as vice chair, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3. All righty. And all those in favor of Ms. Sewell? 1, 2, 3. All right, so,
It's a long time.
Just hold tight here. Maybe if we count in metric. Hold
All
on
we'd
here.
have to do is give her the right to vote and
what
problem would be
if,
solved.
can Ms. Gray vote absentee
No, no, sir.
And
via text?
So what we could do is, since Dr. Gray is not available, we can wait until the next time she's here to go ahead and have that vote.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect anything since we have the council here. So if you'd like to, we can go ahead and wait and just move along to the goals and visions for the year.
That would be good because, we'd like everybody to participate.
All right?
Or would it work to have co-chairman?
Huh?
Would it work to have co-chairman?
Co-vice chairman?
I don't believe that's how the bylaws are written at this point in time. However, that's something you'd like to address. We can certainly look at that, another night. But yeah, so we can go ahead and wait till the next meeting to do the vice chair.
I think that'd be the fair way to go.
Okay.
wait till
All right,
Ms.
so-
Gray's here.
With that said, number 4, goals and visions for the year. And I see a nice handout with goals, objectives, and strategies for implementation.
Actually, if I may, sir, that's actually the comprehensive plan part. That's actually the next one. That goals part, even though it does say goals, I see where it's misleading. That's actually for the next item, the comprehensive plan. So the goals, visions for the year, at least as far as I saw it, was for you all to kind of lay out, have some ideas, a roadmap of perhaps things you want to accomplish this year as far as the ag board, things that you would like to build upon from last year, things that would like to be, that y'all want to do for this year. That way it would help us drive the committee throughout the course of the year.
I think it's important for us to show that we listened at the listening sessions and that we're going to try to implement what people are asking for as far as assistance or their ideas and things. I'm glad that we're part of the 2020 plan. We're getting written into that. That's a good thing.
Since we,
Kind of ties into the goals and visions. I was approached by 2 of the planning commission board members to hold a local session in the Long Creek area and in other areas. So that's a good opportunity for us to help. Maybe Doug, I think they wanted to have it at the community club. And then it'd be a great opportunity for the ag board members to be in there and be listening of what's going on in the planning and have some input. So when these do take place throughout the different areas, through the planning commission, we kind of need to be present there to help set out the goals and visions of the ag board.
Sounds good, I agree. And that's what
Any
Mr.
dates on that?
Well, they're waiting to see about the community center when it's available, and they're trying to coordinate between, as far as the Long Creek one.
Okay.
then that would be, actually, I would do that, any sort of setting up the meetings and coordination, things of that nature. So just are you the right person to talk to you about that, Mr. Alfield? No? Okay, excellent.
Who
I'll
is the
contact you.
president?
Joey. Joey, what's Joey's last name?
I don't know,
Your
Joe.
neighbor there.
I believe somebody gave me her contact
Oh,
information.
It's the, last name's,
Anyway,
she's the president?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And that's what you asked for all along. is
You're talking about for the.
come out to the
that would be for
communities.
the plan-
Booth.
Comprehensive plan.
That's
Maybe we
it.
can tie it all in. Booth, yeah, actually, somebody gave me that contact information, I
Okay,
just
'cause
forgot
I-
about
Yeah,
it, so.
Joey Booth.
All right, I'll contact that person. Yes, ma'am.
Speaking of that, since we've gone back to that, I know I've asked this before, you're gonna try to do that in each community, correct?
Well, we definitely will. It's on the agenda, so if you all have any thoughts, so I talked to the planning commission as far as where we could have different meetings, like physical structures. I'm open to taking any sort of input you all have, especially for your particular districts or around wherever you all live.
I think we definitely would need to have one up there, you know, Joe Cassie's Salem area, that up in there, where I live.
Devil's Forks doesn't have a community room, does it? Like, where else could we have
Yeah,
it?
we do. We have there's a conference room there.
Is there?
Small, but it's a small community.
Well, yeah, if you all could help me set those up. So for the district meetings, I know this is a little bit more towards comprehensive plan, but since we'll be the first county in the state to have an agricultural element, if you all just want to shoot me a email or give me a phone call or tell me where I can look and who I can talk to about setting that up. So Miss Joy, I'll give a holler up in Long Creek and I'll work at a date and time. And we'll kind of have these community meetings. It's necessary for us to do it, but it's really good that we do it as well.
Didn't Oakway have it the same night we had our meeting last time here, when we had some people come in? Didn't they have it the
That
same
wasn't
night, I
It
believe?
wasn't the planning, I don't think it was the
That
planning
wasn't
Not the
commission.
planning committee.
But someone else did have something.
Yeah,
They
they had-
had speaking and listening session, yeah, at
Yeah, yeah.
Oakway, and that was a good place down there at the school, where they shut down the school would probably be a good place to have it.
And even the Salem Community Club, you know, where we vote too, would be good.
Salem Community Club, okay. So,
Are you gonna make like a schedule once you get all these, certainly you are, and it will be, cause I'd like to know, I mean, I might would wanna go to more than one area, cause I own property in other areas and stuff like that.
we'll definitely advertise it all, and I will definitely keep you all alerted to when we
Okay.
have any sort of these meetings. As far as, so listening sessions, those seemed pretty good last year, and since we're doing the comprehensive plan, the agricultural element, do you all think we should have one or more of those sometime throughout the course of the year?
Another
Most
list.
definitely.
Yeah.
I think after well, my opinion, and Debbie has hers too, but I think.
You think?
As always, don't we both? But anyway, I think after the planning session meetings, it would be a good time to come back together with all the farmers ranchers. After we hear from the communities, and, because we hear this side, then we hear this side, then we can come back and ask the farmers and ranchers again after that. If it doesn't drag out too long on the planning commission meetings.
So, they're probably like July, or if whenever, we can pick a better month, I just said July,
Yeah.
but probably like, by the time because there's 5 districts, we might have multiple meetings in each district, so
Right.
it'll take every bit until July-ish to get those accomplished, so we can definitely look into doing that then. Or whenever, we don't necessarily have to be July, I know that's not necessarily a great month for everyone, but,
You're saying it's gonna be 6 months probably before all this ever, all comes to,
yeah, by the time I do enough data gathering, so.
Are you gonna try to hit, the whole county, kinda?
Mhm.
Okay.
We had mentioned one per quarter question mark,
I think that's,
so
Yeah, and because we will be going out, so we can definitely combine them. So whenever we have these meetings, you'll all be,
Well,
you're members of the public, and you're of course invited. But if you want to come as the ag board, we can certainly arrange that as well. It's not a
we're
big deal.
getting close to the end of the first quarter if we're going by calendar. So,
You're
you
talking
know,
about
March,
the listening
March will be coming up kind of quick.
I think that's what you're talking about.
okay.
Listening session is what you're talking about? The only fear by doing it once a quarter or people come back in here and they say, okay, we were here last quarter and we discussed these same things, now what's happened? They're gonna ask us, cause that's what I do if I was sitting out there and I attend 2 meetings, okay, I told you about it 6 months ago, and then now where are we? And then we're gonna sit here and say what?
That's what I was saying, we need to act on what they've asked us to do. Or take steps, and you get started, you can't do it all at once, but you gotta
can't
get
do all of
started.
them, but then-
We can say, for instance, if we'd been a little better prepared, we could have said, we spoke to our delegation at the January 24th meeting and brought up this issue or that issue, and one of your concerns, which was one of your concerns, and this is what they said, and this is where it is, so.
Did not I believe Dr. Gray went and
She was
spoke
there.
at
She was
delegation.
I went also, but we neither of us spoke, which we missed a good opportunity.
I've been back and forth, getting back to that, I've been back and forth with Mr. Alexander, trying to get to the root of why trying to get in touch with someone from DHEC. So he's been very helpful and very communicative, but he's also busy as well, so. I'm trying to find our last listening session's
I think
notes here.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say something about that.
Well, please
Believe it or
do.
not, one thing the reason I suggested that last time about having one a quarter is not necessarily etched in stone, but it gives us an opportunity to make sure that we, to keep us on track with what we do, I think. And not everything is gonna be settled in a quarter either. One of the things that I think one of the first things we need to do, because it's coming up so fast, is I think we need to do a listening session that concentrates on marketing, like our stuff that's grown and produced here in Oconee County. And I know that I have a lot of people that I speak with and talk with, because I work with Marlene and those at the farmers market, some of the other farmers market. And since it's so coming up so quick, it would, if we could like target a certain topic, not that people couldn't talk about other things if they had something to talk about, but to kind of reach out to those people that come to the farmers markets and that that do produce things, and maybe go to other, like Sandra and I found out that we have a lot of people that go to Greenville and go to Easley and other places and find out what their suggestions for us might be. So that might be something, but I know that's pretty quick, but I mean, I think we could do it. But, and maybe make them more topical and maybe help us to stay on topic.
That's one of the big issues, is getting the farmers markets to pull together, and I think it was Dr. Drake or Mr. Howard suggested a cooperative of some sort. It's a big challenge, and we've talked about it a lot, how to get the farmers markets together.
Well, and it might be an opportunity to get the people who are the, farmers market, I guess, I don't know, managers or whatever, to come as well. Maybe they can be part of the panel or whatever. Just, they can ask them direct questions.
Well, having topics for the evening is a good idea. Just one focus, and then if they have other comments, yeah, sure, but a topic.
Yeah. South Carolina Department of Agriculture just hired a marketing person that is now on board across the state to help farmers find a home for their product. And he's working, actually I'm meeting with him Wednesday, but they're working with any farmer that has any product. If you're having trouble, pushing your produce, meat, protein, whatever it is, they're there now to help, to try to put you in with corporate facilities throughout the state of South Carolina to help purchase your products. So they just came on board January 1, and so they're out reaching out right now through the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. Just a little knowledge thing about marketing.
Are they based out of probably Columbia?
Columbia.
Say, because maybe we can invite them to come to one of our
Right.
meetings and really get it out there.
I think that'd be a great idea. I mean, Debbie, to have, focus on something, because if we just sit here and listen, then everybody's throwing the same things out there. But if we keep them funneled in the right direction to help educate as well as help. Yeah.
Who else could we bring for marketing? Who else could we bring for marketing as well?
Clemson Extension has, that's part of their focus too, is helping market, farmers to market. And they're in charge of the farmers markets throughout the state. I think I'm saying that right. I mean, they're not in charge, but they coordinate.
Yeah.
They coordinate.
Help facilitate with them,
Right,
yeah.
the farmers markets throughout the state. That's part of their task.
Well, there's different types of farmers markets throughout the state. I've learned a lot about it.
Oh, anybody can have a farmer's market. You can pull on the side of the road, and that's a farmer's market if you want to, with a pickup truck, load of stuff. But as far as coordinated, organized farmer's market throughout the state, am I saying that right, Carrie, that they facilitate and help?
I mean, within Oconee County, they're supposed to have a permit if they go to any farmer's market, and that has historically been through the extension office. That started well before my time, and so I've tried to keep up with that, but whether it's mainly the Seneca market that utilizes that format still, but each agent in each county keeps track of what markets are in the county, and offers support to those markets and trying to help get out information. And we have a flyer with all the different markets' information. Each year we check and make sure everybody's stuff is correct, what days they're selling on. And then that goes out to all the produce growers that are on their, whoever's list, you know, whichever county you're in. And then, you know, trying to get the word out about taking in senior vouchers, the produce safety union training that they now have to have. So yeah, that usually comes between SCDA and Extension.
I
Yeah,
saw something about
another,
that.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I saw something, excuse me, I saw something about that, they're gonna do that online, that safety, the, training, that, the voucher training online next year, I believe.
I hope so.
That'd be great.
Really nice.
It's a thorn if not.
Sorry.
Another good topic, though, talking about farmers that need to be educated on is new Food Safety Act. And I think everybody that grows anything that's being sold to the public needs to be involved in that. It's coming, whether you want it to or not, it's coming. And so that's part of, whether it's vegetables, handling the vegetables, the food safety program, it's mandatory that people take it if you earn more than $25,000 a year in your goods. It's now mandatory as of last year, wasn't it? Yeah, last year.
Yeah, there's a training coming up in Greenville that I'm part of.
March 13th.
Yep, so anybody that hadn't, so that's kind of information we need to put out at some of these meetings too, that, to make the producers aware that they need to go take these courses. And that's a federal guideline.
Would it be appropriate to invite the Farm Bureau marketing person to
Sure.
visit with us?
What's, y'all got one, don't
Well, I know of. We got a little bit of everything else.
I think he was talking about State Department of Agriculture person that Bubba was talking about. Is that who you're talking?
you? No, Farm Bureau.
Farm
He said
Bureau.
Farm Bureau.
Did you say Farm Bureau?
I didn't say Farm Bureau. You said Farm Bureau.
Yeah,
thought
you
you
said
said-
Farm Bureau, right?
Did you say Department of Ag?
I said Department of Agriculture.
Okay, all right. Well, we'd like to invite that person.
So is that a separate person, or was that the other person?
Same, the one guy at South Carolina Department of Agriculture down in Columbia. I don't know his name, but I got it.
Got a meeting with him Wednesday, right? You'll learn then.
Hmm?
Got a meeting with him Wednesday, you can learn then.
My wife tells me where to be.
Oh, maybe she'll tell you his name for you.
And I listen very well too.
All right, any more on the goals and visions for the year?
So should we make, plans maybe for a session or make a motion or something of that nature for one pretty quick?
Yeah, which would you rather have, the marketing person or the, well, it's maybe the same person for March? You talking about March?
You can't make a motion on something if you don't ask the person to see if they're available, really, can you?
Well, I was talking about the, listening session and then hopefully invite the person to come.
So what we could do is you all can vote to have a listening session. We're already into February. It'd be, I don't know if I could advertise it. I mean, I could probably get some more of those flyers if y'all feel like doing the legwork. Y'all did a pretty good job the last couple times. And see if we can generate some people, and I can call and ask if they're available, but I won't be able to guarantee that people will be available for March.
That's what I was meaning earlier. March is upon us, so
Right.
That's too quick.
we
Well,
wouldn't
I
have
was
time to
thinking maybe late
advertise.
March, early April, before the farmers markets.
So the next March meeting is the 12th or 13th, I think.
11th or
Is it?
14th or something.
Something like that. So we could look at April, certainly. That would give us enough time. I think, that gives me a little bit more time, because we got a lot going on.
That's great.
We're all for helping you.
So our main topic's gonna be marketing in this listening session, or we're just gonna have a listening session on anything? What do we need to kind of,
What do y'all think about that idea? To do it like that topical?
I think you need to split the meeting up. If we're gonna educate, then we need to educate for part of the meeting, and we need to open our ears and listen for part of the meeting. Because I don't think it's gonna be hard to, because this guy's gonna be talking about cattle, you know, X, Y, and Z in the creek, or forestry, or whatever it is, and then, you know, if we're gonna talk about, I think if we're gonna say, you know, if you publicize it, we're gonna have a session, part of our meeting will be based on marketing and helping, you know, find out what farmers need for marketing or blah, 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 and then the next part of the session, second half will be on the listening session for any concerns or comments from the public, ranchers and farmers. I mean, that's just what I think, but.
I agree. I like having a topical, session and then time for a little bit of other discussion too.
That's gonna
That's
be
completely
in,
up to y'all.
Okay, I'm gonna ask a question. In the last two listening sessions, right, there's been two. Have you had like a topical list of things that people have discussed and talked about? And has there been any action on any of those items? Because before you can go back to have another listening session, I feel like in order for them to be heard or feel like they've been heard, you need to show them that there's been some kind of action on at least a couple of, or at least one topic that they showed interest in or asked questions about until you can come back with another session. I just feel like if it were me out in the audience
yeah,
and
I
you came
agree.
back for another listening session, I'd be like, well, here we go again. You know, if
What
you're
have you
doing the
done to
same-
warrant my
Yeah.
time? We,
Yeah.
that's exactly right. We've in contact with our legislative delegation to, discuss the buffer issue.
Mm-hmm.
So that's ongoing, so.
So these are the minutes from the last, listening session. I'm just pulling them up here. Just as a recap. So Mr. Nerding spoke as a aquaculture aquaponics person. Ms. Lionheart was from Upstate Forever. Ms. McPhail talked about everything. There's Dr. Beecher. As far as aquaponics, I don't believe we touched aquaponics at all, but this was November, and we didn't have a December. Well, we had a December, but we didn't have a January meeting, really. So if that's the route you all would be interested in looking at, these are some of the things that have been talked about. As Mr. Blanton did note that we had the outreach process to delegation has begun, but it is a process. We could, of course, work on something that you all would like that based upon these minutes.
Well, to me, that's one goal is to have listening sessions, and I was gonna mention something about the aquaponics or processing in general, but if we got to that, but I think we were, you know, that was just the first goal. I thought we should try to have more listening sessions.
It seems like, what do y'all think the hottest issues so far have been? I think, just personally, the buffers and the setbacks has been an issue. And, we learned a lot from Mr. Martin of Fieldale talking about what Georgia does. And the other thing was, the question was, how does the legislature set the setback distance? And how is that established? And is there anything we can do to change that?
Maybe what we need to do then, at the beginning of this listening section, is go back and list the 3 or 4 items here that we have worked on somewhat. In other words, like the setbacks and all, we put that before council. They have intervened on it, talked about it anyway at one of the meetings. We've done this. We're looking at the setback issues. We've contacted DHEC or contacted our legislature. Give them an update on what has gone on, and hopefully before the next listening session, we're gonna get a little bit more out of DHEC or whatever on some of the things. We need to give them an update on what we've done. You know, we're a group up here, but we don't make laws and we don't change things. Let them really know that we're a spokesperson for them. You know, and we can go so far, and that's as far as we're gonna be able to go. It's gotta be taken to the next step and the next level. Once we give our 2 cents to the county council or whatever other entity it might be, if they don't go along with it, you know, we're kinda dead in the water, right?
It's kind of moving because didn't they refer
Yeah.
it to the planning
They did
commission?
refer it
So
to planning,
that's a
so we
step.
need to inform them that we've recognized and we have went forward as far as, you know, what's going on. What do y'all think?
Right, exactly. We need to
That
show
way
them we're
you
doing.
eliminate some of these people that, are saying, well, what have they done yet? You know, we're gonna tell them, you know, we're still on this, but we need, you know, we need some more input here. We wanna know where you stand. Maybe some other issues have come up that we can work forward to as we work on these issues. Does that sound good?
Yes, sir.
What do you think, Adam?
That's certainly doable. I can easily come up with an outline of things of that nature before the next one. Yeah, that's certainly doable. You also had mentioned, you kind of touched on something there that we started doing, and Ms. Sewell got a pretty big round of applause for it the last time she went to the contentious council meeting and spoke about agriculture in a positive light. And that was, you know, someone once a month from this board showing up at a council meeting and saying, hey, we're here, kind of thing. That was something you all kind of started doing in the holidays and things like that hit. So,
I still think that's an important part of what we do. We need to know what's going on before we can we can advise on what's going on.
Well, one good thing too, if you're not able to come, if you got a minute, all you gotta do is go online and you can pull up the
Oh,
whole council meeting
Oh, yeah, I'll watch it.
and what's going on. In fact, to be honest, I've done that before I came down here today on the last couple of meetings. So I sat there for about an hour or so going over from the first of the year to see, you know, with the elections and appointments and everything, to see what was going on. So, you know, but you're right, Debbie. I think that sometimes we need to show our face a little more. I know during zoning issues, when they were going on, if you showed your face and got up every now and then and said a little something, you know, you was kind of more recognized. They say, okay, you're doing something, you know, that aspect. But I think we do need to have, you know, if you can come, you can't. It's like, you know, I've got 3 other jobs, and now I've got 4 with the new grandson coming along. So, you know, and it's like Ed over here. Ed's got 5 businesses over there in one, and it's hard to when you settle down at the end of the evening, it's hard to get back up and go again. But you know, I think that you're right. We need to, you know, come if you can. You know, kind of touch base on that aspect and be a part of the council meetings on some issues. You know, it'd be kind of, I don't know, they have their agenda they send out, Adam, ahead of time.
yes, sir, it's out at least 5 days ahead, but sometimes they amend it. And
How do you go to the county to get that agenda? Can we
Yeah.
go online and get it?
It's on the website.
on
yeah,
the
it's definitely on the website, and I don't know if she does, I imagine Katie probably does a media blast. I'll ask her if she, sometimes, so I have a list of about 50, basically anybody who says, hey, I want you to email me every time you have a new agenda, I do. So I have a list of about 53 or 54 people that I just, every Wednesday I blast out to an agenda for the planning commission, ag board, for whatever. I'm not sure if the clerk of council has one, but I will certainly check, and if she does, you want me to add y'all's name to it, you get, once.
Well, look, if we can go online on there and get the agenda, a lot of times that makes a difference too. If there's something that I think it's gonna, be a part of agriculture or a part of my organization or my business or whatever, you know, that's gonna entice me a little more to kind of get here if I know what's going on. And I knew that information would probably be online.
Even our minutes and our agenda are on there.
Yeah.
And also, it gives us an opportunity, not only that, even the fact that we go, and several times I spoke, I know, Rex and, Kim spoke a couple of planning commissions, and, the planning commission is important too for us in particular, but the fact that they see us, and if you have something to say, it may not be on the agenda, but if there's something new coming down the pike that we need to get people to listen to or look at, get their attention about, it's a good thing to do that too. I know it's, you know, but it makes a difference, I believe, don't you, Adam?
Oh, 100%. This is all about a participatory form of government. You all have to show up. So you see that outpouring we have tonight. Planning commission generally has a couple people. Council is usually has a full room. But yeah, definitely, we want to encourage people, and if we can be the people that we want people to be, would be great. Mr. Hallfield, this is how you get to this is our oconiasc.com. If you just go to councils right here in the middle, and agendas and minutes,
Gotcha.
and there they go, and they go all the way back to, I don't think they go all the way back to 2000 on here, but they're right there for you. And it also does different committees and things of that nature. So this is all available, and ours is also available online under committees and commissions,
Yeah.
right
Okay.
there.
We kind of had an informal, agreement or understanding on, okay, who's going to the next council meeting? All right, I'll take this one, I can go to this one, and we had people going to them, and sometimes two or three would show up. And a wise person told me that showing up is important, but it's even more important to say something, get recognized, and so we'll try to do that. Pay attention to what's going on. A neighbor of mine had a bumper sticker once that said, "The world is run by those who show up," so. Let's, anything else? We can move on to number 5.
I have one more thing on the goals. Like we were talking about, we mentioned aquaponics. One of the issues that they have was with processing. And also our first listening session, we have several, people that have, free range chickens that are issues with processing. We have cattle, people that have problems with processing. And I think as an economic issue is something that we need to look at, possibly talk to economic development as to looking into something of that nature. Apparently processing aquaponics is not as is involved as beef processing or poultry processing, but if we could one of the things the Farm Center wants to do is to have a commercial kitchen. If we can somehow work with them and work with the county to help get that going, that would be great, I think. And I know that also, I also read that they're relaxing some of the cottage food laws, and so that there may be an opportunity there for people to do more value-added products. And so that's something that I think the Farm Center would be a great place to start getting that going as well. So I think that should be one of our goals this year, is to work with them to get the commercial kitchen or processing area, whatever, going if we can.
By all means. I like what they're planning to do, and they need a lot of help, so we should support the Farm Center wholeheartedly. And that's an economic
That's the
engine
the
that
key word
we
right there is
need.
economic development for the county. That's the only way it's gonna ever work. And is to have some support from the county.
I think
In
we're
my
in a
opinion.
unique geographical area too, because we're right off of 85. We got, Georgia that way, North Carolina, and the rest of South Carolina. So we're in a great location. If we could get something like that going, I think it'd be in everybody's best interest. The county would really help us out.
Have you been to their meetings lately?
Hey,
Farm?
the farm, no, I haven't. They haven't. They're like us. They're getting started back after the holidays, so.
So if I may, so that's an excellent goal, work on processing with the Farm Center. It's not, we need to distill that down into an actionable
Right.
item, because us saying we want to go help, so we need some steps. We need some, like a strategy and an objective to do that. So us showing up at council meetings, that's an easy one. Just, drive here and show up. How would we go about helping them? And I know it's kind of on the fly. Maybe we don't have a good answer for it at this exact moment, but maybe that's something for us to kind of work on, is come back to the table with how can we help, and some like definitive goals and perhaps a time frame, things of that nature.
Yeah, I think I've looked into it some. Like I said, their poultry processing and beef processing is a lot more involved than value added and the aquaculture processing. If I got I don't know the particulars on it, but we talked to Dr. I can never think of his name. Who was the guy
Just
here?
pulled it off here.
Feature?
Beecher. And maybe he can give us some ideas on what we would need to do to get that. What it takes to get a processing.
Well, if it's gonna be run by the Farm Center and it's public owned or something, is one thing. And there'll be, and how you're gonna charge and how you're gonna rate. How's it gonna pay for itself?
Well, that,
or is it gonna be privately owned, and it economically, is it gonna be feasible for
Better to
anybody to
do
make
that.
money at it? And if they can't, they're not gonna do it.
Right.
If the business person can't make a profit at it, like I said, there was one open, brand-new facility was built over at Blaylock's Meat Processing for poultry. He ran it for 1 year and closed it down. And the reason being, it was non-profitable. And so, you got an uphill battle on some of it, but now if it's volunteer ran, or you process your own in a certified facility with a manager that has been trained, because that's what it's gonna take when it comes to food service. Somebody's gonna have to go be trained to operate the facility. And then that, or her, or whoever it is there present during the processing, then managing people, just like in a cannery. And we took a group of farmers from here in Oconee County, went to Blairsville, and visited a brand-new canning facility. It's $1.3 million canning facility that the Georgia Extension ran. They ran the facility during the summer. They ran it. Their employees ran it, had one there full-time. It was built and paid for by the county, and then Georgia Extension ran it. Then it's a feasible thing. For somebody to put out $1.3 million in a canning facility and say, well, I'm gonna make money at this, how many of them do we see anywhere?
that's a problem.
That's right, but I know. But that's the problem is, it's not economically feasible, or you would see them on every corner.
Or if you've not got enough,
That's why we need to we need to
you've
get
not got enough material to furnish the processing plant.
Yeah, we can talk about it, but yeah, but if you only run it during certain months, then that's great. And you have a freezer facility that people can freeze their vegetables or fruit and store that. That is right there in Georgia, in Clayton, Georgia. There's a facility right there. They encourage farmers to bring their stuff in. You rent pallet space over there. If you want to process peaches or whatever it is, then you put your pallet of X, Y, and Z in their drive-in freezer that's, I forgot how many thousand square feet, and you can rent that space for so long. That's available right now. But all that stuff and I've preached this for years. We can't raise enough money, in my opinion, to build a facility that we need in Oconee County. Without the support of the government, other larger entities. And it's a wonderful thought. I would love to have a process facility right here. I didn't have to take my beef over to Blaylock, like probably half the producers in Oconee County go to Blaylock now over in Georgia. Or it's either there or Spartanburg.
Yep, I know.
So infrastructure is like Danny Howard sat here and told us all that night. That infrastructure, when we start losing agriculture infrastructure, it's a downhill business for everybody.
That's how we need to try to come up with, I mean, I maybe somebody in the economic development would have some ideas on that. Maybe, I'd be willing to go talk to them, I mean, as a first step to know if they have any ideas on agriculture, business development. I got about 6 weeks here before I get back to work, so.
Anyway,
Well, I can
That's
tell
what
you,
it's gonna take, it's gonna get different entities together, like you said.
well, I can tell you one thing, in the late 70s, early 80s, there was a thing going on, we had a thing going on to get a CA cold storage unit. And at that time, Mr. Herschel Moore was still living. And Long Creek was really booming in the apple business at that time, with Horseshoe still going and everything else, like it was with the number of apples we grew. I went with Herschel and our county agent, John Stout at the time, and we went to the State House on a deal on getting a CA storage, put in, and what we were looking for is getting one put in on 85, down here in Fairplay. Because that would have been ideal for the trucking line coming up 85 for the location and everything. Produce or whatever coming out of Florida or wherever it may be, that would have been a good point right there, and a pickup point. And it went through the State House. I met some people I always heard about, but never did know that day. We spent all day at the State House and going over it, and it fell through like a couple of people didn't like it because they just put in coolers. excuse me, in Long Creek area, so they didn't like that idea of putting a CA storage. And I often wondered if that CA storage had went in at that time, how it would change the farming in Oconee County. Excuse me.
We have very little to no infrastructure for farming and agriculture in Oconee County. Where's their grain storage in Oconee County?
Gotta go to Anderson.
You gotta go to Anderson. Processing facility that you can sell to the public, we don't have it. Canning facility, we don't have it. Cold
Where we need to
storage,
start.
cold storage, we don't have it. Freezer space, we don't have it. We have no infrastructure as far as agriculture, if you really look at the big picture in our county. Now, do we have things close to us? Yeah, but as far as infrastructure, we don't have it.
Where we need to start.
Whatever the biggest need is.
How do you identify that?
Well, what's the biggest farming? In my opinion, I mean, you know, poultry's the biggest thing, but those are processors, that's all hauled, that all is taken care of in there, so that eliminates that because they have their own process. So what's the biggest need that's left here? Is it fruit? Is it produce? Is it other, you know, hydroponics? I don't know. But whatever it is, we need to try to work on something, but it's gotta be, and if it can't be as an independent business, then it needs to be something that's supported by the Ag Center. And the Ag Center, and I'll say it and say it and say it, needs to be supported by Oconee County. I'm talking about financially, not just by saying we support you. I'm talking about some money put out there every year to build a facility that we can create our own infrastructure, to have cold storage, to have freezer space, to have a canning facility, to have a processing facility that's all tied in there. And along with that, it's a teaching facility for young farmers and young people and tied into education in Oconee County. But that's I've been saying that for years, but everybody's too damned independent in this county. They want to have their own little party and don't want to work together, but that's just my opinion. For what it's worth. Anyway, move on.
Whole thing.
That's good discussion on the goals and vision, and we'll decide what we want to work on, what's number one, and go that way. So let's talk about the comprehensive plan. Mr. Adams furnished us a nice document here as part of it.
So if I may, what I've given you is the goals section of the comprehensive plan. The goals element is about 30 more pages, and I figured not to drown you in paperwork. So this is the goals of the, I'm sorry, I'll get you another copy. And that's based upon the backup material. So a lot of those goals some of those goals came from the previous plan. Some of them came from several meetings we've had. Currently, the planning commission has gone through them and they've done some wordsmithing and some content editing. And next one we'll be working on is the housing element, then community facilities, then so on and so forth. So when we get to the agricultural element, this is what you'll get. You'll get something like this, along with 30 pages or so of data to support. So each of the goals in there is supported by the data that has come from the census and from other entities. And the planning commission is going through those at this point in time. So this is the comprehensive plan. I just wanted to share it with you as far as we're going over it. So if you ever want to come and put your 2 cents in, you're welcome to either email me some thoughts and I can send it with the planning commission, or, you know, show up, which is preferred method for me. So, and it's time to start thinking. So for instance, you all have just mentioned a couple interesting things as far as agricultural infrastructure, as far as production and things of that nature. Those are things that we can definitely start looking at, but if we can integrate them into the comprehensive plan, then they're backstopped, and it gives council and planning commission and the rest of the community like a well to reach into and say, okay, we talked about this a few years ago, we found a grant, we found something, we know the community wants it, but let's run with it. So having these goals and objectives is an excellent thing to start kind of hanging on to. So I'm writing your ideas down, but you all also need to kind of write them and run with them as well. And this is kind of what we're looking at when I was mentioning before, as far as processing, we need to break it down into strategies,
go
objectives, and implementation strategies for it. And that really kind of gives it some teeth. So just wanted to share that with you at the moment.
Thank you very much.
We're also working on, this is not about the comprehensive plan, but the corridor plan. So we got the planning commission got some money to look at various corridors, roadways throughout the county. We're looking at 123 between Seneca and Clemson. I know it's not a very well-trafficked road, and not a lot of people don't drive down it, and it's very easy. So we have, they're Alta Planning Design. They do a lot of transportation planning. They'll be here the 18th, 19th, and 20th of March. And we're gonna have, if you all have any time on either of those days to show up here, we're gonna have like a round table, some maps, draw your own destiny kind of thing. We're looking for community input as well for that.
Is that the only corridor, or is there other?
It's the only one we have funding for at this point in time.
Okay.
And if it goes well, then we'll start rolling with some other ones that we've identified through traffic and planning.
Adam, what's being thought about now through the state level is working on our rural roads, especially for our transportation of farm products, whatever. Our rural roads are falling apart. I mean, if you get off the 4-lane roads, you're gonna hit a pothole somewhere before you get where you're going. And I know that through Farm Bureau, we're promoting that to upgrade some of our rural roads, especially in areas where farming, farmers are trying to get their products, to wherever, to the market or whatever it may be, because they're fighting some of these issues on some of the roads. And I know that's a big issue now. Is that got anything to do, is the county thought about anything on some of our rural back roads? Are they looking at anything like that instead of the main roads? The main roads are good, but, I'm telling you that, just like a good example, and Bubba's probably the only one gonna know it, but if you've been to Long Creek and you go up Castee Bridge, and if you look at it right now, it's falling apart. And if you get on Academy Road, it's awful. You might as well just be driving the dirt road, because you dodging potholes or you dodging dips or whatever.
They slowly turning back into dirt.
Yeah. But, I think that's gonna be an issue that might, somewhere down the line, is gonna come up. I know we're pushing it through the state level, and Farm Bureau is really behind that now, pushing the rural road aspect, state rural roads to doing those. And I do know that here, that I have been told, and people have come to me, and if they report a big pothole on one of these state rural roads, somebody's out working on it. I mean, I've noticed that they patching, but that's not getting the job done. But they are patching some of these potholes that, I've heard people comment on me, well, I called them and, they came out and done something. So that's something that, maybe down the road, the county may have to look into kind of coming up and matching some of the county rural roads that are traveling,
So this was an excellent point, and this is exactly where the Ag Board comes in. Because, while I staff liaison for the Ag Board, I'm involved with managing the process for the corridor, it didn't occur to me that rural roads are something that we should be looking at. So this is a great reason to have the Ag Board as a whole. That's a good perspective, and we can definitely do something with that. So if we kind of take that idea, formulate it, package it into something that we can bring to council as an idea, hey, you all just took 123 and some other corridors. What about Cassidy Bridge Road as a rural corridor, something to do with?
or 28.
Or 28. So if we take that and we package it up, deliverables, goals, objectives, strategies to doing that, and we bring it up, we either send it with a comprehensive plan or we send it independently, that's what we're here for. So, yeah, we can definitely, the Ag Board can definitely do something about that.
Impacts tourism
Yeah, I was gonna
tremendously
say,
too, so that's a huge plus. Team up with tourism.
Like J. Cassidy Road is a terror. I mean, in the summertime, it's terror. It's really a risk in your life. I travel every day I go across the mountain to Cashers. The road from 130, what is it, Oscar Wigington Road, across there to 107. It's scary. that's all state roads though, so I don't know influence we have
But
on
we
that.
do have some county roads that would,
Connect
you know,
in there.
that's affected too by this.
Yeah.
You know,
Is that, I mean, we talked about in the park, that could be brought up at the comprehensive plan.
We brought up the comprehensive plan level, or it could be brought up independently. We have a very responsive SCDOT, as you mentioned. I've them both our reps on my phone, and we had another issue, and they showed up to a meeting on very little notice. I gotta say, our SCDOT people are pretty spot on. They seem very supportive, even if it's a state road. So 123 is a state road, and they're actually involved in this corridor plan with us. So any plans we make are gonna be, if not approved, they're gonna at least have some sort of tacit agreement at the beginning before, instead of us having a $100,000 plan and then saying, nah, we're not gonna do that. So, but we can definitely work with SCDOT on state roads and for county roads. We have an excellent roads and bridges department as well we can speak to. So,
I've noticed a lot of traffic counters around Seneca area.
SCDOT, they're doing their yearly traffic count, and should be out in a couple months. They've been all over the county.
I have not, but I've been all over Seneca area. So anyway, I've noticed those. Any more, on the comprehensive plan?
the only other thing I can think of is, I don't know where the county is involved with it, but in dams and reservoirs and water issues, which is gonna be a coming thing. It's here, with the 100-year-old flood that has went on in the state of South Carolina in the last year or two. Dams and reservoirs is gonna be inspected, and they're inspected. We're trying to get that now, pushing through with Farm Bureau, pushing through to where that comes on the Department of Agriculture instead of DHEC.
Amen.
So we're pushing for that. This is information for us that we can relate to, and you know, if we as a county, you know, like you said, sometimes we can say something, if we go as an issue, as the whole county says, it's the way we'd like to have it, it might come about. But that's one of the issues that's coming up on, what it's gonna cost to fix some of the dams, farm ponds, anything whatsoever is all gonna be inspected sooner or later. And those things that come about and what it costs in order to fix these things and get them in compliance is an issue that we're looking at too, is helping the farmer out on that problem. Because it could get into, you know, several hundred thousands of dollars on some of them. Small ponds, you probably wouldn't have as much, but, you know, with, I know in Oconee County, we still do irrigation in Oconee County. There's still some irrigation going on. And some of these ponds and, cattle ponds or what have you that we've got for water for cattle or goats or sheep or whatever it may be, or retention ponds that you gotta have, as also could be a factor. And what they're looking for too right now is the hazard ones that's gonna be risk life and property. That's the ones they're gonna hit first, and, you know, but if we can get this pushed through and get our legislators to get behind it and put it in the hands of the Department of Agriculture instead of DHEC, we will be at least one little step ahead. So that's another issue I brought up to you that's maybe coming about. And I don't know about if you know or not, but if you're irrigating, I don't think we've got anybody up here, irrigating with over 1 million gallons a day or so of water. There's some down and around Aiken and around in that area, so you've got to get permits, and you've got to go through a whole lot of rigmarole in order for you to irrigate. If you take in so many gallons per day. They're looking at surface water, well water. What is our well water going to? If you taking water from here, is it taken out of the ground? You know, their water issues are gonna be, coming about. There's gonna be some legislation passed on certain things. There's some bills in there now. We've got to keep abreast of this because it can affect us pretty much all over the state of South Carolina. So that's something we need to think about. If you see legislative, hit them up. What are you doing on water issues, or what are you doing on dam issues? Let them know we're concerned about what's going on. And those things are coming about. Okay? That's all I got, Rex. You can do whatever.
Excellent, excellent. I can tell you went to the meeting recently, and y'all, because that came up last year, Farm Bureau. That is important.
Well, I'm on the legislative, board, and we have conference calls on every Tuesday of, the month. And those issues are brought forward. We usually have about 40 to 50 people on these legislative conference calls. And, we're dealing with our lawyers. They're the ones doing everything, what they're promoting in the State House. Our advocates that are fighting for the farmers down there. And I'm gonna tell you what, out of all we've got as far as being farmers, your Farm Bureau is your main thing keeping you going, keeping the farmers going. Because if it was left up to the legislators and our lawmakers to do us, they would have done us in if it hadn't been for Farm Bureau years ago. Because they advocate, they fight for everything that a farmer needs. And I've got a book, I don't know if you've seen the one this year, but everything that Farm Bureau stands for. And that includes everything from DNR to chickens to roads to whatever. It's about yay thick, and it tells you what they stand for and how, just like your CDL license, you know, you can still drive that farm truck out there loaded with a load of grain, you know, and if it hadn't been Farm Bureau, you would be buying CDL license and costing you $250 for a cotton picking physical every year if you're my age. And, you know, but Farm Bureau has really, and our American Farm Bureau, and where people don't know about it, I've got to put a plus in Farm Bureau. Once you join the Farm Bureau, you also join the American Farm Bureau. So they're fighting for us in Washington, D.C. And Zippy Duvall, which is president of the American Farm Bureau, lives right across the lake right here. And he's doing a wonderful job on advocating for farmers. And if you've ever met the guy, he's worth talking to. He does a lot with the Farm Bureau. But that's how I get my information. A lot of my information, I get newsletters that's posted to me every time I turn around. When I turn my phone on, I've got something on it. But you know, keeping up with what's going on, and even what's going on out west, because Farm Bureau hadn't pushed it. If you'd have went out there and took a turn plow out west and plowed a furrow, they automatically regulated that furrow because you made a mound. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It would have been that way. And so that just gives us a little insight of some of the information that's going down the line, some of the things that's going through the State House, some things going through Washington right now. And, you know, the Farm Bill and what it went for. I don't know if anybody's looked at the Farm Bill or not, but it's not bad. It's not bad at all. I do know the State House, I know that during the State House, the Farm Bureau really pushed for Clemson Extension and the university, and that's the reason we've got some more people hired now. So, one good thing I can say is, I'm gonna keep up with that, and I'll relate y'all whatever I learn or whatever I think is gonna be important to us in our county that we need to keep an eye on, so, as we go along.
Appreciate the update.
So, that's where I go.
It's great to have groups like that advocating, because I remember you mentioned the furrow. There was talk about regulating puddles of water.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what I said, if you had a furrow and it had a puddle of water in it, you
Yeah.
regulate.
As population increases and as pressure increases, these regulations are gonna increase. So I'm glad they're out there, and I'm glad we can advocate for our agriculture in the county, so. Do we have any old business? Any new business? I'd like to welcome some people. Mr. Barry Reichert from Salem and Miss Carrie Roach from Clemson Extension. From the beginning, we've recognized those areas, and Clemson Extension we feel is an important partner. So we're glad to have a successor to Mr. Danny Howard, who was excellent. And I'm sure you'll be great, both y'all. We're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So I'm ready to adjourn if I hear.
One other thing, on the minutes, did you look at the time schedule, the times on those minutes?
Did I?
Oh, we adjourned at, 6:15. What was it?
Yeah, that was,
needs to be kind of changed, cause that's like
Some
we
time warp.
had the meeting before we got here.
Oh, you know, because I saw it, so it'd been 6:42. I like to change that, yeah.
Okay.
I was gonna bring up former
just-
approval of former minutes, but we didn't have much to talk about since we didn't have official
I
appointments.
can
We
address that, 6:42.
postponed the meeting, so we don't have any minutes to review, do we, Adam?
For what?
That 15 or 30-minute
Oh,
meeting,
it's right here.
30-second, oh, okay. Yeah, I saw those, okay. I approve of those. We need to approve those?
Yeah, I guess we skipped over at the beginning. But yeah, if you wanna, someone wants to motion and vote and with changes.
Okay, we recommended that we postpone the January meeting until everybody was officially installed or nominated or whatever. So we voted to table that or postpone that, so, do I hear a motion to approve the previous minutes from the January meeting
With the changes.
With the change.
with the change
I make a
time?
motion.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye, raise your hand. All right, that passes. So, no old business, no new business.
Before you take a motion to adjourn, I'm intrigued by this agricultural infrastructure, and I've just been sitting here thinking about it. If someone wanted to address that or to work on that, what would be a first step? How would one go about addressing that, or at least figuring out what infrastructure Oconee County needed?
Well, the first thing I would say is visit other places that already have the facilities. We don't need to recreate the wheel. It's been done all over America. Clayton, Georgia's got one, in Raven County. Blairsville's got one. They're everywhere. They're in other places, just not around here. Visit those, put a package together and say, all right, this is kind of what we want to do. I mean, that to me would be a start for the design process and what we need, what that's gonna take care of, and then the county needs to be on board. The county needs to be on board. That facility needs to be part of Oconee County facilities, just like a public school, just like this building, just like anything else, is my opinion. Otherwise, I don't see how we're gonna ever afford it. To do it right for the infrastructure.
Well, I'm sure the first thing the county's gonna say is,
Yeah.
where's your proof? I mean,
Well, the
You
proof
guys,
is.
yeah, you pre-grant, then you gotta have something showing, they're not
And
gonna.
that's when you go to economic development, work it out and let them come up with a plan that studies and says, okay, we say if we have this much infrastructure here in Oconee County, it's gonna draw this many people, hire this many people, create this many jobs, create this much income. And with the Economic Development Commission. And so all that and then that goes into comprehensive plan or goes into whatever. But somewhere down the road, in my opinion, like I said, it's just my opinion. As a businessman, it won't work unless we got something big behind it. If Duke Power wants to fund $10 million and call it Duke Power, ag facility, then I'm all for that. But I just don't see them doing it, since they owe a little tax right now anyway.
That's one of the reasons we work so hard in putting together an economic impact statement.
Yep.
And we need to update this because as we researched, we found out that we are really low. And so we're showing them how much agriculture means to the economy of Oconee County. It's millions. And so we need to pound that and emphasize that, get them to understand how important agriculture is.
I think another thing too is our Heritage Fair. What do we call that now, Marlene?
Heritage Fair.
Heritage
Fair.
Fair is fair in the
The
form.
Heritage Fair has, their long-range plans are to have a certified kitchen down,
With the farm center.
cooling, coolers and what have you. You know, a good step that is not gonna cost the county a whole lot of money would be to put our grants person with the county, helping them out. You know, that would be a small step in putting, something in place that we have. You know, they could use and letting them operate. They got the facility, the land now that's, the county's done it. But, that wouldn't cost the county, a few hours labor. But, to help them out on maybe a grant or something, that might be something we could look down the line at. Or, something that maybe, the fair could come in and incorporate with a corporation, and they sponsor them something to put a facility in down there, which is, I think that's what they wanna do.
Oh, that's the master plan is.
You know,
That's the master plan for the ag center.
but, somebody needs a little push every now and then,
I think,
ain't the push, it's the
To
money.
answer
That's what I'm
Barry's
saying, that's
question,
where we need the
though,
money.
I think what we need to do is we need to figure out exactly what we need before we talk to anybody about it.
I agree.
So I don't know, he's asking, and I'm at, where do we start? Does Clemson have an idea what we need in this county as far as processing goes?
Well, I think you need to look at not only ones that are successful in the surrounding areas, but the ones that have failed too. Because I've been in a county in eastern North Carolina where they had a state farmers market building, and it sat there with nobody at it. It had a cooling facility, it had a kitchen facility, but they couldn't figure out why no growers were utilizing it. And really, it was a location situation with the way the access from the roads, and they were like large highways, main thoroughfares across the state, but it was a big waste of money. And so, not that that's the case here, but what I'm saying is what Ed was talking about. There was another, starting a poultry processing unit and then not being successful after a year. I think it's really important not only to look at what's successful around us, but what has failed.
I agree.
And then also looking at what our top industries in the county are, and obviously it's poultry. Do they need us? Not really. Probably coming in next or close to next would be beef
Beef is
production.
second. Mm-hmm.
And so do they need us? Are we able to help in that situation? I don't know that a process facility is going to be feasible for that on the scale that we would need it here.
If
What
I
about
was to
helping to
call
hire a
Wilson's right now,
USDA
they would tell
inspector
me to bring
though,
it
for
next
one of the
year.
process facilities
Yeah.
we have now?
That's how backed up they are.
That's one of the
Yeah.
problems.
And so
Agree to
Billy.
have
but
money
how,
first.
I've never seen that function as a county-backed facility. Not to say that it couldn't happen, but how, that would be my question, is how could we find somebody that has something similar in a county that we could kind of, that's not private industry, that's not a private business, and see if there's something that we could replicate. There are a lot of, there's quite a few extension offices in western North Carolina that have kitchens with coolers. There's shared use spaces like Blue Ridge Food Ventures. I visited probably 8 years ago. Very successful today. And I think something like that with coolers and a kitchen would be an easy addition and not a huge expense really when it comes down to it at the farm center. I am very cautious right now in the produce safety arena because there's a lot of things raining down in that area right now, and I think there's a lot of uncertainty with how it's going to be regulated. I mean, FSMA was passed, the produce safety rule is part of that, and it's implemented, but how are they going to actually enforce it, and how, to what extent? Because that's going to impact our growers very significantly. And at first we thought, oh, well, if they're just under this 50,000, it's okay. They don't have to do anything. And now they're saying, not really. You still have to comply.
Yep.
But we're not really going to check on you until something bad happens, and then we'll put you out of business, basically.
If you
So-
sell to the public, you have to go under the
Exactly.
rules. That's the way it is.
Yep. So it's a really dicey time, I think, with produce safety, and I think that's a really big need in the county. The problem that I'm running into right now is offering trainings with that. It's an outside company that comes in. They're the only ones that are allowed to do it. I'm trained to help, but they charge $100 a person.
Yep.
And for a grower, I mean, that's a lot. If you're a small produce grower, $100 just to sit in a room all day and check a checkbox. But it's important. It's very important.
Yes, it is.
Because one wrong step, you get somebody sick, and your business is gone.
Just your business, everything you own is gone.
Exactly, your life. I mean, a food safety illness, a food safety outbreak, some kind of outbreak, and your whole life is done. And so it's really scary to me that I'm trying to help people navigate these waters, and it scares me, and I'm not the one doing it. So I think somehow helping with a kitchen with coolers, with the Food Safety Modernization Act and the Produce Safety Rule, and getting the word out. Because there's a lot of people in this county that have no idea that they fall under that rule, and that they legally have to have somebody educated on their farm. And I can try all day to get these people to come, but I'm an outsider. I wasn't born and raised here. You know, I use my husband a lot and his family, but so something with produce safety, I mean, that's important. And that kitchen is an avenue to do that.
$100 is cheap insurance.
It is very cheap insurance,
That's-
but it's
that's
hard
all
to
you gotta do.
convince people of that sometimes.
They need to wake up. I don't care who you talk to. They-
Yeah.
Well, I think I got the answer to all of it.
Okay.
Is you put a facility in to wash whatever, you say wash before you eat and let them worry about it.
You can't wash off E. coli and salmonella.
It's hard to.
Once it's there, it's there.
It's- yeah.
Rub some dirt on it.
You can clean it, but you can't sanitize it.
Yeah.
That's the rule. You can clean it, but you can't sanitize
Well,
it.
now, wait a minute here, I gotta disagree with you on that, for the simple fact that you can go in and get certified to pick up apples off the ground, which we don't do.
Can't do that anymore, can you?
Yes, you can get certified to do that and still utilize that apple. But you
Not-
gotta have,
not-
you gotta have a facility to
Not
clean
without
that out.
processing it.
You
Yeah.
gotta process it
That's
though.
right.
That means you
You
gotta
can't,
pasteurize it.
it's a raw product.
Right.
You
But
can't
you-
use it for
I
a
mean,
raw product.
That's what I'm saying, process it, you can still use it.
Yeah,
So you can still make.
But that
cider
eliminates-
Or whatever.
that eliminates
Processed
the poop.
cow shit, but I don't like it.
It's all about that word. It's all about it.
It's all about food regardless.
All right, well,
Yes.
we're digressing, so may we entertain a motion to adjourn?
I make motion we adjourn.
I second.
All right, have a good night. Welcome new members.
What's going on?